Hi, I'm Amy Souders, the Director of Licensing here at System Improvements. And today, we're going to look at 3 types of communication that are overlooked in the root cause analysis process. First, let's talk about communication in general and how the TapRooT process approaches communication. When we're discussing the communication category in the TapRooT process, we're talking about verbal communication between 2 or more people. We're looking for situations where communication was misunderstood, or where communication was not received, or communication issues that occurred during a work turnover process. So why would communication be overlooked in the root cause analysis process? Why would that be the case? Part of the issue could be the person selected to do the investigation. If a supervisor is conducting the investigation, the issue of communication might not even come up. An employee may feel uncomfortable telling a supervisor that they misunderstood the verbal communication or that the communication was never received. So if an incident could have been prevented if communication had been more effective, then you'll likely need to dig deeper to find root causes in communication. When you're dealing with communication root causes, remember that you're commonly going to be dealing with verbal communication that was misunderstood, or communication that was late, or possibly there was no communication at all, and lastly, ineffective communication during a turnover process. These are the types of communication issues that are typically identified in the root cause analysis process. And you're going to need to dig deeper to find specific communication root causes that can be addressed through corrective actions. Today, though, we are talking about types of communication that might be overlooked, especially if you aren't using TapRoot's structured root cause analysis process. The TapRooT process has an entire category focused on verbal communication, but you also find communication issues in other parts of the root cause tree. And today we're going to talk about 3 root causes that involve communication but are not in the communication category on the root cause tree. These 3 root causes are more about management's communication or lack of communication. First, let's define a term, SPAC. When I use the term SPAC, I'm referring to a standard, a policy, or an administrative control. So do you ever encounter a standard, a policy, or an administrative control that wasn't used when it should have been? Absolutely, of course. We see it all the time in an investigation. If that standard, policy, or an administrative control had been used, would the incident have been avoided? To truly fix your system, you must dig deeper to understand why that policy wasn't used. Using the structured questions in the TapRooT process, you may find out that there are communication issues. It could be a formal communication problem, that the standard policy or administrative control was not communicated through training or through a directive or through oral communication. Or you may find out that it could be an informal communication issue. The issue could be that management is simply not showing support or concern or not leading by example and not following the policy that has been put in place. Management not showing support for a policy is a form of communication to employees. It tells employees it's simply not important to follow. An example here is not wearing your badge. Say you're hired by a company and you're given a badge. The company policy is that you're supposed to wear your badge at all times. Your first day, you realize that nobody wears their badge, and no one corrects that behavior. This is a company's informal way of saying, We really don't care if you follow this policy. In examples like this, you would want to consider corrective actions that address the disconnect between a policy and how it is or is not implemented. These next two issues deal with communication back and forth between management and its employees. We call it the two-way street. The first one is communication from management to its employees. Do you ever feel like there's a confusing culture at your company? Maybe the way work is being done doesn't align with communicated goals. Management's written and verbal communications of SPACs must be consistent with management's actions, goals, and reward programs. The key is consistency. If management says that quality and safety are important, but a safety issue arises and employees feel undue pressure, or worse yet, get in trouble for not meeting production goals, then there are communication issues in your management system. That happens when employees feel that stated management goals do not align with the day-to-day priorities and directives. Digging in deeper into your management systems will help expose these issues so you can address them. The second half of the two-way street is about employee feedback. What processes and programs do you have in place to make sure employee feedback is reported to the appropriate levels of management? Do employees feel comfortable expressing feedback? Are employees given true feedback to their concerns? Say you have a manager that makes safety a priority. That manager retires, and he's replaced with a new manager that makes it clear that he has other priorities and safety isn't the first one. Employees will prioritize what's important to their manager. And so it won't take long for employees to stop providing feedback to management if something isn't a priority. Employee feedback could be a potential root cause if employee feedback is not making its way back to the people in management who can fix the issue, or if employees do not feel comfortable expressing their feedback. If this is the case, then you want to examine communication issues in your management system. TapRooT eliminates the opinions and bias during an investigation. TapRoot's structured approach, which relies on facts and evidence, make it simple to help identify issues with communication. In addition, TapRooT has tools to help you write more effective corrective actions and to address root causes. Thank you for your time today, and if you're interested in learning more about the TapRooT process, please don't hesitate to reach out.